Right, this is an additional video, it's not the normal weekly video. The product I'm going to show you today was actually a product that had meant to have been included in the helmet care and cleaning video that I released last week, but I didn't receive the item on time, so it couldn't be included. In fact, I didn't receive the item at all, so I had to go and pick some up from Halfords over the weekend. Now, back in the olden days when a motorbike was my only form of transport and I used to have to ride in all weathers no matter what, there was a product that I used to use on a regular basis. It became my best friend in a way, and it was my only way of keeping my visor clear in heavy rain so that I could see the road ahead. RAINX is an old product. It's been around about 40 years, I think, but 4 years ago, having run out of my current supply, I went and bought a new one, and then on reading the instructions saw that it was no longer considered to be suitable for use on plastics. Now obviously at some stage in recent years the formulations changed, or they discovered that this stuff was causing damage to plastic visors. Now I have still continued to use it on the car, and I also use their anti-fog treatment, which is handy for those cold mornings when you first get into the car and your windows steam up. And I also tried their combined window cleaner and RAINX treatment, but to be honest I was never very impressed with that. Now when I was preparing to do the helmet care video, I gave RAINX a ring just to ask them basically why it couldn't be used anymore on motorcycle helmet. And during the course of the conversation, RAINX did inform me that they had a new plastic RAINX product which had been available in the UK for around about 6 months. And I was really pleased because it was a bit like meeting up with an old friend again. Now for anybody that's ridden in rain, which I think will be most of us, we all know that visibility through rain collecting on your visor can be a major problem and a hazard. And RAINX is basically a very aggressive water repellent which causes water on your visor to bead up into very small droplets. Now you need to be travelling at over 30 miles an hour for this to work effectively, because what happens is the wind then basically blows these tiny droplets off your visor, leaving your vision clear. Now, how effective RAINX is going to be on your helmet can depend on a number of factors. The design of your helmet and your visor, how tall you are, and whether or not you've got a screen fitted to your bike can all affect the way it performs. And I always remember a helmet that I owned years ago where it never seemed to clear from the centre of the visor, so I had to develop the technique of turning my head to the left or the right every now and again to clear it. Either way, I always considered RAINX to be the next best thing to actually having windscreen wipers fitted to your helmet visor. Now before we get to the ins and outs of how to use this stuff, I have got one gripe. Looking at the label, it does seem that this product is primarily aimed at motorcyclists, and whereas the long-lived glass version has always been available in 200ml dropper bottles for treating large expanses of glass on a motor car, RAINX have thought fit to sell this plastic product in a 500ml trigger spray. To my mind, a trigger spray is completely inappropriate for application onto small items like a visor. And don't forget, the end user is actually paying for the privilege of having that trigger spray there. And indeed, the instructions do tell you to spray the RAINX plastic onto a cloth and then apply it onto the surface to be treated with the cloth. Now this version of RAINX comes in at a whopping £11.99 for 500ml, and I personally would have much preferred to have paid something like £4 for 100 or 150ml dropper bottle. I'm not entirely sure why RAINX have done this, but I do think that they've dropped the ball, and it is going to put motorcyclists off, because if you're using around about 2ml of this stuff to treat your visor on say a 2-weekly or monthly basis, that means you're going to have this stuff sitting in your garage for between 10 and 20 years, and I'm not entirely sure whether this product is actually going to have a shelf life that will fit in with that. Now I'll quickly go over application with you. First of all, just apply a small amount of this product onto a clean soft cloth and then apply it liberally all over the entire surface of your visor. There's no need to wait for it to dry. Once you've done that, with a second clean dry cloth, buff it off. Now, I always found with the glass product, especially the first time you're using it on a surface, once you've done this, leave it for 10 minutes and then go through the same procedure again. This just helps to build up that first even coat to ensure that the visor is properly protected. Now, that's basically all there is to it. Now, how long it's going to last is a little bit like asking how long a piece of string is, because again, it's all dependent on several variables. One is how often you're actually riding in the rain, because this is obviously going to have a bearing on how long the coating lasts, and also how often you're having to clean your visor, because obviously abrasion and the use of visor cleaning chemicals will have an effect on this coating. Now, generally speaking, in the past I always found that I would get minimum 2 weeks out of it, and in most cases up to a month. So for anyone trying this out, reapplication is going to lie somewhere between those 2 time points. Now, I did try to set up a little demonstration to show how it works, because it hasn't actually rained since I bought this stuff up to me filming the video. Now, I had the great idea that spraying some water onto the visor and then blowing it off with a hairdryer, which I might add isn't my hairdryer, would give a good idea of how it works, but unfortunately I overestimated the power of the hairdryer, and I think realistically it was only producing something like a 10 or 15 mile per hour stream of air, which wasn't very effective, but it does give you an idea of how it works. Obviously, travelling at speed out in the open, it is going to be far more effective. Now, if you want to try and get your money's worth out of that 500ml bottle, you can of course treat your plastic headlamp lenses with it, and your windscreen if you have one fitted. It does help prevent build-up of sleet and snow as well as rain on your headlamp, which obviously from a safety point of view has got to be a good thing. And this stuff does also slow down the build-up of dirt both on your headlamp and on your visor. So theoretically you should find you don't need to clean it quite as often as you would have. I will say though that if your headlamp has a glass lens, you're going to have to use the glass treatment. The plastic one is unlikely to work adequately. There's not much else I can say about this product. As I've said, the plastic RAINX is new to me, although I do have plenty of experience of the glass RAINX, but I do expect it to perform in a similar way. If this video's piqued your interest, give it a try. If you've already tried the plastic RAINX, I would very much like to hear people's comments and what they think about it. I will leave a link to Halford's website, which is where I purchased this one from. I'll be back on Friday with a review of the K&N high performance air filter for the new Hinckley Triumph Bonnevilles, and I am in the process of preparing a fitting video as well, because it's substantially different from the old Bonnevilles. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video interesting, and I'll see you on Friday.